day of bringing you the 12th Regal Scottish Masters Snooker Tournament from the Civic Centre in Motherwell. After 4 days of hot competition, we're now down to the grand best of 17 frames final between this man here being introduced to a packed house in the Civic Centre, up to number 2 on the provisional rankings in the world now, Ronnie O'Sullivan from Chigwell in Essex. And his rival, next to make his appearance in the arena, 7 times professional snooker champion of the world, more than 500 centuries to his credit in competition. He's been a marvel of a player these last 10 years or more now. Stephen Hendry, MBE. It's a mouth-watering prospect here at Motherwell between these two players over a possible 17 frames, and certainly the audience looking forward to it, and I hope you are too. My name is Mike Smith. Once again with me, Mike Hallett. We'll be bringing you the action here over the next hour or two. Good evening once again, Mike. As I said, a mouth-watering prospect.
Yes, indeed. As we look at the caption, how the both players got to the final, and well, we saw how well Stephen played against Ken Doherty in that semi-final, and well, Ronnie hasn't had it all his own way. 6-4 against John Higgins, and just got through last evening 6-5 against Mark Williams. So, but as you are, Mike, I'm very much looking forward to this. And, well, on the form, really, over the 2 semi-finals, you've got to put Stephen slightly favoured.
Yes, that 6-1 mauling, it has to be said, of Ken Doherty, himself, of course, a former world champion, was a wonder to behold. And if you're a Stephen Hendry fan, then you must be absolutely delighted with that. Ronnie, on the other hand, had a very different sort of semi-final, did he not? In eventually defeating the current world champion Mark Williams by 6 frames to 5. Not a classic match, interesting to watch nonetheless. Certainly very interesting to see how these two players and their differing styles and differing temperaments to tackle this final.
Yes, of course, both players do. The early exchanges in this match will be very important indeed, and both players will be wanting to get off to a flyer, but I'm sure we're in for a treat. Stephen showing form that, well, possibly I haven't seen for a little while, and well, Ronnie's been very consistent this year. He's already won the Champions Cup at the beginning of the season. And, well, quarter-finalist in the British Open, and he lost 9-5 to Mark Williams in the final of this year's Grand Prix a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I just wonder whether that match against Stephen Hendry in the semi-finals of that Champions Cup is a pointer in any way. He beat Stephen 5-2 at the semi-final stage, Ronnie, before going on to beat Mark Williams 7-5 in the final.
I don't think might really be a factor, because these players meet each other so often during the season that, okay, once a result is gained, they go on to the next tournament and try to win that one. But of course, if that happens over a period of time where a player is getting the upper hand over one player, it becomes a little bit psychological. But in this case, well, I don't think so. And of course, Stephen really being on his home ground here, he'll want to do well.
And delighting the audience there with that nice long red to open his account in this opening frame.
Well, options here. Could go down for the blue. I was thinking about the bottom red of the 3, possibly a cannon to get onto the black, but he's taking no risks at the moment, and really shouldn't need to with the reds where they are. There's plenty to go at. Stephen in sparkling form in that semi-final against Ken Doherty. 8 50-plus breaks, 7 frames. Very heavy scoring indeed.
Yes, and Ken Doherty looked as though he'd been blitzed as he spent such considerable time sitting in his chair.
Very difficult when the player's doing that against you. You can only sit there and admire.
17. 18.
'He's almost overrun that. Just about left himself enough room.
26.
But now back in prime position once again. Just 2 more loose reds, and then he's going to have to find an angle to develop. Well, he's done it a little earlier and finished perfectly on the next red into this right corner.
Yes, that was well calculated, that, using the pack to hold the cue ball. And he knew if he hit a certain red, then he was bound to leave himself on that red he's just potted. So, clever shot there from Stephen.
Well, it's given him a good chance to rack up a few more points here for sure.
Well, looking for the cannon on that outside red. He's still got one though, I think, to the right corner. Just gone away from the red slightly. Yeah, it's a good recovery pot. Well, it's been 5 years actually since Stephen Hendry lifted this title. He's won it on 3 occasions. The first 2 when the event started in 89 and again in 90, but it was back to 1995 when he beat Peter Ebden 9-7. So it's been a while for him. And of course Ronnie O'Sullivan lifted this trophy in 1998. He beat John Higgins in the final that year, 9 frames to 7. So I'm sure that Stephen is very much determined to try and make amends here.
49.
Well, 1 more red, and this will be his 8th consecutive break over 50. As you were, 9th in 8 frames.
50.
Bearing in mind the prolific scoring that we saw from him against Ken Doherty in the semi-final.
Yes, packed house here in the Motherwell Civic Centre. And why not?
57.
2 of the best players in the world. Nice venue actually, good atmosphere. Holds around 650 people, 700 people. And
58.
it's a nice venue to play snooker in. Stephen not quite getting the right side of the blue there, had to go in and out of bulk. He's just overdone that one slightly. Needs a bit of luck. He played on the red just to the right of the pink. And he's still got the red on. It'll cut to the left corner. That's a good shot. Tons of check side, right hand side there on the cue ball to hold for the black. And well, that could have gone wrong, Mike, actually. He hasn't quite done enough to win this frame, and he had to play a good shot to regain position.
Yes, it was a little bit of a risk, but as you say, he controlled the cue ball exceptionally well there. Could have gone anywhere, but he knew what he was doing.
Well, he was unlucky there, he got a kick, and the cue ball hasn't come back as far as he wanted. And he just requires 1 more red. Just watch this. He's played that with a lot of check side and bottom on the cue ball and held nicely for the black. Just this red then. In fact, I've miscalculated. He was already safe. We've got the 7 points had to go on, and that certainly makes sure in this first frame.
Well, the crowd obviously would dearly love Stephen to clear the table here. The frame over and done with, so far as winning it is concerned.
78.
And this has been a very bright start from Stephen. Just a couple of loose shots, but he's managed to get himself out of trouble, as a good pro often does. And, well, looking at the balls, you'd say, well, man of his calibre should be able to clear the table here. The pressure's off.
85.
Break at 91.
91.
Well, just struggled in. Possible 133, which of course won't threaten the high break, because earlier in the tournament Marco Fu had a 147.
99.
Nice little prize as well, Mike. £28,000 Vauxhall Frontera. Got the keys to that this week, so...
Yes, and ironically, it was the only frame he won in that match against Ken Doherty. But there's yet another century from this Scottish marvel, who's given us so much pleasure
106.
over recent years, virtually all the way through the 90s. This man
108.
has been at the top, although, strangely enough, I mentioned Ronnie O'Sullivan's provisional ranking up to number 2 after his early good start to the season. Stephen Hendry is provisionally down to number 5.
111.
Yes, as we've already mentioned, this tournament doesn't carry points, just prestige, and of course a lot of prize money.
115.
But, well, they can use this event to get themselves into form for the next ranking event, which is the UK Championship in a couple of weeks' time.
120.
And Stephen's finishing off here where, well, starting where he finished off against Ken Doherty. Oh,
Well,
that was a pity.
foul stroke 6 away. It's a bit academic at this stage. The frame well and truly won. So Stephen Hendry it is who draws first blood in this final of the Regal Scottish. He leads Ronnie O'Sullivan by 1 frame to 0. Regal Scottish Masters snooker final between Stephen Hendry and Ronnie O'Sullivan. A nice 120 break by Stephen Hendry opening the proceedings. Here we go with the start of frame 2. Stephen Hendry, incidentally, in his 95th professional final, and he's so far amassed an astonishing 72 titles from those 94 previous ones.
Good strike rate, Mike.
'Tis indeed.
And, well, he hasn't done anything wrong so far. Ronnie missed the ball, Stephen's made 120, and he's made a perfect break as well. So, I think Stephen has shown to Ronnie, certainly put down his intentions already in this final. Long way to go, of course. Best of 17 frames. First to 9.
Well, he's left Stephen a chance. Very awkward queuing into the left centre Queuing right over the pack. And there you see the result. It might have looked easy, but with that terribly awkward queuing, very difficult shot indeed, even though it's the open pocket.
Not too bad though, actually, because he's hit the yellow on the left-hand side as we look at it, and if he hit the yellow on the other side, possibly left that red on, but I don't think Ronnie can cut this red in. It's very thin. And well, as it's worked out, it's not too bad. Stephen there, just shadowed by our referee, Peter Rinaldi. That's a good shot. Stephen might take the opportunity here just to free the black up. These top stars don't like the high value colours tied up.
Now, clever little shot by Stephen there. Not only doing that, but snookering Ronnie. Simple enough to get out of it, of course. Has to leave it, hopefully for him, right on one of the reds. On the pink, more or less, but that should be okay.
Yes, nothing on that side. Stephen can see the one in bulk. He might opt to take that one, but he doesn't want to leave this one on the right-hand side of our picture. Oh, he's played it well.
Well, again, it was difficult queuing. He was hoping that the white would have been right up under the yellow and brown. Tough one if Ronnie does want to take this long red on into the right corner, into the left corner. Not potted a ball, not scored a point yet in this final. He has now.
Not a bad way to start, though. What a great pot that was. Well, in some ways, really, he was forced into that. Didn't have a lot of option on the safety side, and just look where he's finished.
Eight. 9. 16. 17.
Well, just that open red there on the right-hand side. I don't think there's another red available after this one. He needs to leave himself an angle on the black, possibly a half ball to nudge one out. That's the angle he's just checking. Those two reds there at the back of the pack. I'm probably looking to just move one of those slightly.
Peter Rinaldi getting the equipment out for Ronnie in preparation. Quite a bit of scaffolding making an appearance on the table.
Yes, I've already mentioned actually during the week, Mike, about the extensions and the extending rests and things. You know, we used to use the long rest, the half butt and everything like that, but they're still supplied with the tables these days, but very rarely used. The players now have the advantage of being able to play with the tip on their own cue, which I say is a great advantage. A bit of a sigh there from Ronnie. I think he's just gone a fraction too far, but it's okay. He can still into the left-hand one of the two. I think he was taking a lot of time and care before he played that shot, but he should be all right. Well, I decided to hit them at pace. How's he been lucky?
32.
Well, they're all covering each other.
Well, that's unfortunate. He took the gamble there, and he certainly did give that ball a lot of pace. A little unlucky.
We've had a look at this 2-ball plant to the yellow pocket. Not quite sure if it's on. He might be able to make it though. Very risky, of course. He's just checking this, and actually if they're just lined up to the right-hand side of the pocket there, Mike, he could actually hit the right-hand side of the first red, which will push the second red over to the left. That's what he's checking. If the reds are close enough together, it's what we call it's called squeezing the second red, which will go into a different direction. You'd think that if you hit the first red half ball, then the other red would go to the right, but it doesn't. It goes the opposite way. So that's what he's checking.
It's a long way, and if he did miss it, a very good chance with the reds spread the way they are that he would leave Stephen something to go at.
Well, he might play. Did you see? It's lined up at the right-hand side of the pocket. Wow, I thought that was there. Just caught the left-hand knuckle. That was unlucky.
Well, it was a brave try, there's no doubt. But it was a very risky shot to play against someone of Stephen's calibre.
Well, especially now that Stephen can get through to it.
1.
Well, I'm out of position there slightly. The yellow's on, but he's cannoning into the brown. Might just lay the snooker here.
Stephen Hendry.
Now, Ronnie's got to be very careful here because whilst there are plenty of reds to aim for and hit, with them being spread out the way they are, one false move and it will let Stephen in again.
Yes, he's probably playing a glancing blow here off 2 cushions. But it has to be accurate. Oh, what a lovely shot that was. In fact, caught it slightly on the thick side, but acknowledged there from Stephen. He's managed to get the cue ball back up to that bulk area, so he'll be reasonably happy with that.
I think he'll be very happy with it, really. There is one on to the right corner for Stephen. It's hardly an easy shot, and there it is.
Well, the way looks like he's lining up for it. Oh, there you saw it, absolutely in the middle of the pocket. Good pot, but he's let the cue ball get away from him slightly. Just watch this. Bang in the middle. Still got a chance here with this black, though. He's got he's got a chance to cannon into a couple of reds and leave himself on one of those reds. Has to make sure of the pot. Oh, that's a lovely shot. Well, again, I don't think there's anything into that right corner pocket. He's snookered himself on the one to the right middle. He's just pushed the other red past the left-hand middle.
Yes, he was hoping to put the brakes on before it went past that middle pocket. You see the little shake of the head there, Mike.
Yeah, the disappointment in the face says that he's not on anything. That was unlucky because it was a good pot from there. Well, just a safety shot now.
Stephen Hendry. 8.
Needed that cue ball much nearer that back cushion. It allowed Ronnie here to get his hand on the table. Just wonder if he might take this red on. Well, there's your answer. But the main objective, he's got that white, or trying to get down behind the yellow and brown, and well, that's okay.
What's known as a shot to nothing, I think, Mike. There was always the chance they'd get that pot, and plan B was perhaps getting a snooker behind either the brown or the yellow, which is precisely what did happen.
Yeah, Stephen won't take one on here. He's looking at the red nearest the right middle, just come off it, about half ball. Bring the cue ball up and down, I'm sure, unless he's taking one onto the corner. Well, he was trying to get the white back to the ball carrier, but he was hitting a lot of reds there, not quite sure where they're going to finish.
He's pushed one over this left corner, which I'm sure Ronnie will have a go at.
Nice pot. Now he's on a colour. Just in between. The yellow's probably favourite, but he's just gone a fraction further on the brown than he wanted. Well, now he's back in amongst them. And this is a great chance. He already leads by 24.
3.
Now it's, of course, 26 with the yellow.
4.
We'd really expect Ronnie to win the frame from here. Well, I've been looking forward to this match really, Mike, when they both came through the draw to the final. And we've seen Stephen in devastating form, and well, Ronnie's played well as well. You know, there's one or two lapses in concentration during certain matches, but overall he's played reasonably well. And I just think that it sets it up nicely for a great final.
I don't think there's any doubt that Ronnie's brought his early season good form here to Motherwell. Just to recap,
18.
for anyone who missed news of the early rounds, he started off
19.
against Jimmy White, who came through a little qualifier to get his place in these 12 players here, and promptly put pay to Jimmy 5 frames to 3, and in those 5 frames that he won, 3 of them produced centuries. Went on to beat 2 men who've lifted the world title.
26.
John Higgins by 6 frames to 4, and of course that semi-final against Mark Williams, the reigning champion, 6 frames to 5.
Went very close to that corner pocket.
32.
Just rechecking the scoreboard. He leads by 55. So just this red then, and Stephen requires snookers.
33.
Well, it's going to be 1 frame apiece. Battle well and truly joined here in this final. And Ronnie didn't get a look in at all in the first frame, but now settling himself down here
45.
with this now attempted clearance. Well, it was an attempt, didn't come off, doesn't really matter. He's done more than enough to win the frame, levelling it all up in these early stages. Still a long way to go, but it's Hendry 1, Sullivan 1. And there you've got some idea of the atmosphere here at the Motherwell Civic Centre as everyone in the audience settles back to
Thank you. The third frame. Ronnie Sullivan.
witness frame number 3.
Yes, an expectant crowd here to see some good snooker from these two boys. And I don't think they'll be disappointed. Stephen just putting the cue ball on the white on the top cushion here, I feel.
Still only 24 years of age, Ronnie. And starting off this season, it seems, in a more settled frame of mind. He's had his off-the-table problems, but certainly from what we've seen on the table so far this season, looks to me as though he's been making a determined effort to put them behind him and concentrate on what he does so well.
Well, the red went a bit too near that middle pocket, but I think he's covered it with the brown, so it's okay. Problem here for Stephen, and he can't bring that cue ball back up that area. Might leave that red on. Any other option, he's going to swerve around the brown here, or he come off the... Well, he's actually swerving around the other side of the brown to try and pop the red. And that's okay, caught the red thin, but I think he's managed to get it reasonably safe. There is a red on here for Ronnie. Playing on the red on the top cushion.
Four.
Ronnie seems to be judging the pace of this table quite well in these early stages. I've commented before about just how fast the modern cloths play, and some of the less experienced players who don't often get to these stages of major tournaments can be taken a little bit unawares by the speed of the table.
12.
And even with the top men who regularly play at this level, it can sometimes take a frame or two to just gauge it accurately.
13.
And Ronnie appears to have got it just right at the moment. Stephen too, of course, in that opening frame with that 120 break.
Well, he's left himself an angle here, and potting this red is certainly going to split a few more. But
20.
it's all about controlling the cue ball to finish on the black, which is done.
21.
Just kind of a fraction too far. It's okay, but nicely judged. Just knocked 3 or 4 reds out there into the open. That's all it needed. One good pot. Well, Stephen got off to a flyer in the first frame, but all of a sudden it's brought... Ronnie's kicked himself into life here, and it doesn't look like missing.
$36. 37. 44.
Just to say that.
44.
Misses that relatively easy red into the corner. Got a slight kick actually. You could just see the red bounce a little, but you would have expected him to get that one.
Well, it certainly drew a gasp from this packed audience. I'm sure they all expected it to go in, as indeed did Ronnie. No, Stephen really was hoping that that white would just glide past the yellow.
Yes, Ronnie's got a chance of potting the red to the right corner, but with the black not available to the left, there you see it. You won't really take that on and just come off the pack and play safe. No real value in taking that red on, but the yellow and brown here are a big target. That's a great shot. I'm not sure whether Stephen can just get through to this one, this red to the left of the black here. like he can. Well, we heard the heavy contact. He got a kick there, and he tried to hit the ball about quarter ball, and it actually came off around about half ball. That was unlucky. And with doing that, he cannoned into the blue. That's exactly what he didn't want. That's why our referee, Peter Rinaldi, is just cleaning that cue ball. You can never legislate for that, Mike. It happens, and the players just get on with it. Over the years, we've tried to find out what really causes it, whether it's atmospherics or chalk contact or whatever, but static, we don't really know. We haven't got the answer, but we haven't found the answer yet, but really it does happen. We know it happens, and well, the players just have to get on with it, really. Of course, it can cost you frames and a lot of money at certain stages of matches.
Well, if it happened in a crucial stage in a final, it could make a big difference. As it happens, that particular one has come quite early on, and let's hope we don't get too many more. So, Ronnie O'Sullivan stretching his lead over the 50-point mark in this third frame.
9.
And still a few on here. And there's no reason, really, why he shouldn't be able to manoeuvre himself into a frame-winning position at this visit.
18.
He wouldn't need the two reds to the right side of the table.
17.
Yeah, still one there available in the bunch to the left corner.
24.
So just this red to leave Stephen needing at least one snooker.
25.
So a good fight back by Ronnie after having to sit out that opening frame while Stephen got a nice century break.
I was hoping to get the cue ball on that side cushion.
32.
A little bit awkward cueing, but even so, look, he's still playing safe. He's not allowing Stephen the chance to get in. I'm sure that Stephen will concede.
Yes, he has. So 2 in a row for Ronnie O'Sullivan, coming back to take the lead in this final for the first time at 2 frames to 1. Masters final, and as you can see, we've moved on a pace from before the break when it was O'Sullivan 2, Hendry 1. Hendry levelled 2 apiece with a nice 80 break, but then followed a couple of somewhat scrappy frames, which finally both went to Ronnie O'Sullivan, thus opening up for the first time in this final a 2-frame lead at 4 frames to 2. That's where we rejoin the match in frame number 7.
Well, again, you see the red kick and jump in the air. And Stephen's had a couple of
Under it.
kicks like that. He's been slightly unlucky. Just watch this, the way the red jumps off the bed of the table. There you go, look.
There's no obvious reason why that should happen, is there, Mike?
I was just saying, as we mentioned before that commercial break there, that it's incredible, really. So we've tried, and I mean, you know, the balls are highly polished and the cloths are very fast, and whether it's a chalk contact or it's just static or it's atmospheric, we've never really been able to get down to what really happens. And well, you know, I say we do know it's there, and we're still trying, I think, to find out what the problem is. But again, it's one of those things, and it's unlucky when it happens.
I think it could be very unlucky for Stephen on this instance. The earlier one that we saw was very early stage of the game, but now with Ronnie already 2 frames up now, and we're a little bit further into this final, of course, if that were to prove an opportunity for O'Sullivan to win a 3rd frame in a row and go 5-2 ahead, then Hendry would be in somewhat serious trouble.
Yeah, I say, it can be unlucky, it can be very expensive as well.
Yeah, £62,000 for the winner and 30,000 for the runner-up. So effectively, these two here are playing for £32,000.
It was a nice shot from Ronnie there. Good pop, splitting the pack of reds. And he's had a nice little nudge off the second red and managed to stay on the black. Ronnie can't believe that he's missed the black by that much.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, 17.
He's just demonstrating to the crowd where his cue action was.
Well, look at the smile on his face, but I think inside he'll be a bit sick at that. That's for the benefit of the crowd rather than for himself. He really had a great opportunity there to take advantage of the kick that Hendry got that let him in the first place, and he's blown it.
Yeah, I think it was slightly indicating there, Mike. It wasn't the straightest of deliveries of the cue. What do you reckon?
I don't think it was. There definitely seemed to be a slight cross bat.
And of course, he was slightly near the side cushion and having to cue down on it. But anyway, it's Stephen back in amongst them.
I think the nice thing out of all that little incident there was Ronnie O'Sullivan's temperament, his whole approach to it. He might have shown real annoyance in the past. His temperament has always been a little suspect, but you saw there the humour that he showed to the crowd, and to me that detects a slight maturing of this young man, which I think will be all to the good for his future in the game.
Yeah, it's nice to see him back and enjoying his snooker once more. I suppose in some ways, for that kick that Stephen had early on in this frame, a little bit of justice might prevail here. Stephen in amongst them, and it's he that has a great chance to try and peg one back. And he needs to. He's already 4-2 behind. Doesn't want to go 3 behind against a man like Ronnie O'Sullivan.
One. Two.
Well, Stephen there taking the opportunity just to nudge 1 or 2 out. He knew he was bound to land on another red. So good thinking.
Oh, it's worked out perfectly for him, and he's now really
41.
opened up the possibility of retrieving this frame, which he thought he had the opportunity to take earlier before that dreadful kick that he got.
Well, they're all there.
48.
Obviously just one awkward red on that left-hand cushion, but he's that far ahead that he won't need that. Yes, well, that missed black. I think it's going to cost him dear.
Well, it'll cost him his 2-frame lead, I suspect. Not disastrous at this stage. he'll still be in the lead even if Stephen takes this. 40 points the lead now.
Well, this time Stephen will go down for the pink.
$64.
For this pink then, I'll put him 53 the lead with only 51 on the table, but I can't see Ronnie really getting out of his chair. There won't be much left after this visit. So I'm sure Stephen happy in the knowledge that he's pegged one back.
70.
And Stephen producing another sizable break here to go with the 120 that he had in the opening frame.
71.
The 80, which I mentioned, he got in frame 4. And of course that string of half centuries. 8 in 7 frames. Amazing consistency in beating Ken Doherty 6-1 in that semi-final.
77.
I'll just need to leave himself an angle on the pink to disturb that last red.
78.
And I think he's got that. In fact, he's played in behind it perfectly.
84.
Now, can he go on to make the century? These are never easy. Not on this occasion, but a good 84 nonetheless.
Absolutely. And perhaps justice done in the end in that frame after that kick, and then Ronnie subsequently giving Stephen a second chance. So it's Stephen who takes the frame, but it's Ronnie who still leads by 4 frames to 3 in this best of 17 final.
There's the trophy with the winners' names on it.
Thank you. The 12th frame. Stephen
Lovely
Hendry.
trophy it is as well.
So we move on to frame 12 now, and the 1 frame difference still there. 6 frames to 5 now in favour of Ronnie. He actually opened the 2 frame gap again in frame number 10 thanks to a 52 break. That made it 6-5, but then Stephen came back very strongly with yet another big break, an 88 this time, to reduce the deficit once more to just that 1 frame. So 6 frames to 5 in favour of Ronnie here, as we now take you on to frame number 12.
Well, of course, a problem for both players here if they take the red that's near the yellow. They could leave one on that's down the centre of the table. And Ronnie's taken the red near the bulk line. His first objective was not to cannon the red into one of the bulk colours as it nearly goes in the middle. And has he covered it? I think he has, but he's left Stephen this one to the right corner, which was his first intention. Clean pot.
Unfortunate the position. Super pot, hoping to come behind the black and get on it from the far side, but as you see, in a very, very difficult position indeed. So I think it's going to be a break of 1.
Stephen might just put the cue ball to the top cushion here. Couldn't really do anything else. He didn't want to play it in the bulk area with that red down there waiting. I'm just wondering whether Ronnie might attempt to take this red onto the left middle. It's really the only one that he could leave. And he could be on the black with it. Yeah, Stephen was in a bit of trouble there, really. He wanted to hit the other side of the black and leave it on the left-hand side of the top cushion as we looked, but he knew there's a half chance of leaving that red on for Ronnie, and, well, it was a good pot, nonetheless.
It was an excellent pot. Across the table against the nap, and at slow pace, very difficult to judge. Oh, he's under-hit that one. He was hoping to be on this red on its own, just above the pack, slightly nearer to the black. Didn't hit it hard enough.
Sorry, Mike, I just wondering if this red might go to the green pocket. He's had a look at it. I think it might. Yes.
Great recovery.
Certainly was. And again, as you saw there, fully committed. Could have left a red if he missed. I know that we always talk about percentages and the way the players' minds work and things, but again, you should always have the attitude as to what you're going to gain from it rather than what you're going to lose. If you have a positive attitude, then that's the way forward.
Well, still 2 more loose reds before Ronnie needs to risk going into the pack.
19.
No problem getting onto that last one.
Yeah, might leave himself an angle from this red, actually, might just to go into them slightly. And you know, the way they are, the reds are packed, if he plays on the black, he might not dislodge them as he wants. So where the cue ball is now, if he just goes up the table slightly, a couple of more inches, he could leave an angle on that red and split them at the same time. That's what he's intended. Now he could hit the reds here and go through for the black.
26.
No, it's too straight, but well, now he's left himself the half ball, and Ronnie's definitely got the cue power. So moving them about.
Needs a little luck. He also needs to pop the black.
Well, he saw the cue power, but not the accuracy. He can't believe it. He missed the black off the spot by a long way early on in this match, and well, you really don't expect him to miss those. A little bit careless. Might prove an important miss, Mike. 7-5 is against 6 apiece. It's a different outlook on the match, completely.
Yes, Stephen was out of his chair pretty quickly too when he saw that Ronnie had missed that black. That's a sign of a confident player wanting to get on with things.
Stephen there decided on the brown eventually, thinking that's the best way about getting onto the next red. The only problem he's got here that if he's too straight on this red, he's got a lot to do with the cue ball to get back to a colour. Yes, that's what he's looking at. He needed slightly more angle on this red, so he could have screwed down the table. Now he's got to put a lot of cue power into this white ball to get back for the black or blue. He had an angle there, as you saw. Well, he's managed to get onto the blue to the corner. You'll certainly know how important this frame is. You want to go 6 apiece, not 7-5 down.
Yes, I think one of the things he'll try to do, if at all possible, is to get back to that black. He'd dearly love to see the black back on its spot, of course.
Yeah, he's just struggling a little here. Just, again, not quite got in the right position. There's one to the corner, but he's going to be cannon into the reds. There's one to the middle, but it has a lot to do with the cue ball to gain position. I think he might take the one to the right corner, but again, he's got a lot to do with the cue ball to gain position on a colour. He's already looked at the left-hand one on the table to cut back into the corner here. And that's the one he's decided to take. The natural path of the cue ball should land on one of the bolt colours, or possibly the pink. Well, he's caught it too thick and missed it. And that really all came about that he didn't quite get the position needed. But I think he's covered the red. I'm just wondering if Ronnie's contemplating a plant here. It's a long way between the two reds. And of course his problem is if he plays safe off the pack he could leave that red, so he's thinking, well, if I have a go and knock it in, and you see it's not actually on the edge of the pocket, it's a long way away. Oh, great pot.
Oh, that was a big calculated risk, that was, by Ronnie.
Well, it was a great shot too, to get the accuracy over that distance.
That red was nowhere near the jaws of the pocket. It was a very, very big risk. Full marks to him for having the guts to take it on.
Well, we've already mentioned about these modern players, Mike, haven't we? How courageous they are, and probably players back 10, 15 years ago might not have done that. They were trying to cover for safety or gone for safety, but I think in that instance, the situation was that if he didn't get that safety shot perfectly correct, then he was bound to leave the red, so he decided to have a go at it. And, well, it could be a frame winner.
In which case he might look back on that as a key point in this match, possibly. He goes 7-5 ahead, first to 9, as a result of that shot he played there on the two reds. Then he'll think, yep, certainly that was a great one for me. But he's not there yet. Still got a little work to do with these reds.
12.
Yes, and being able to play on that one there, it's opened another red up. He's already been ahead by 2 frames twice in this match at 4-2 and then 5-3. Yeah, Stephen knows that it was the positional side really that let him down slightly. And well, at this level, he's thinking to himself he's 7-5 down. 35 the difference then. This black makes it 42. The open red and one more black to follow should seal this 12th frame. Well, certainly now he just had the slight angle to nudge the other 2 reds open. There's no doubt from here.
$35, $36.
Well, the next frame will be a big frame for Stephen Hendry.
$43, $44.
And Peter Rinaldi only just getting the blue on the spot in time, as Ronnie was so anxious to take that yellow. And Stephen looking on here, facing a 2-frame deficit once again.
Yes, you could see the slight disappointment in his face there, couldn't you?
58.
And believe it or not, this is now Ronnie's highest break of this final. Previously, a 54. in frame 8.
63.
Stephen's had the highest breaks, but Ronnie has been the one who has clinched the frames. Oh, a little bit of exhibition stuff for the benefit of the crowd here. Which was this going in? The bottom right corner, as Ronnie O'Sullivan clears the table. A nice 76 clearance there. He opens up the 2-frame gap once again. He leads Stephen Hendry by 7 frames to 5. This final of the Regal Scottish Masters tournament. 13th frame, Ronnie O'Sullivan going ahead. I should say the 15th frame, beg your pardon, slip of the tongue. Before the break, he'd been leading by 8 frames to 5. In frame 14, Stephen Hendry took command despite a break of 52 by Ronnie O'Sullivan to close the gap back to 2 at 8-6, but still needing the 3 remaining frames if he is to win this tournament.
Well, I think people might have thought he played the snooker behind the yellow, but he attempted the pot into the middle. He'll certainly be behind the yellow now.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, 1.
Stephen looking to come off one cushion. To the side of the pack has hit the pink, I think.
Foul and a miss, 6.
Yes, well, a miss has been called, but there's no way Ronnie will have this put back. An easy red starter.
1.
Oh, that's the last thing that Stephen wanted in this 15th frame. Is this to be Ronnie O'Sullivan's day? Already with the Champions Cup to his name this season. He's reached at least the quarter-final in all 4 tournaments so far this year.
16.
Was beaten at that stage in the British Open by Peter Ebdon, who went on to win it.
70.
And in all the other 3 tournaments, that's the Champions Cup, the Grand Prix, and now this Regal Scottish Masters, he has reached the final.
Well, he's certainly had a good season so far. He's featured in the business end of most of the tournaments that have been played. And the way he's been playing, I'm sure he's going to be in a lot more before the end of the season.
22.
As I've mentioned, the UK Championship, the next ranking event, is just around the corner.
23.
Yes, and big points at stake in the UK, of course. One of the major ranking tournaments of the season, outside of the World Championships itself.
Yes, in fact, second to the World Championship.
30.
And although he won't threaten Mark Williams's lead at the top, we have mentioned earlier that his provisional position is up to number 2 now.
31.
And a good performance in the UK would obviously consolidate that. But you know, Mike, Stephen Hendry must be smarting at the moment, not only so far as this particular position here at Motherwell is concerned, but also for the fact that temporarily, perhaps, he's down to number 5.
Well, you say temporarily, I think that's probably the right word. I think we'll see Stephen kick up a gear during the next few months, and he certainly played reasonably well this week, Stephen, although he's been a little bit more inconsistent than he would have liked in this final. He's knocked a couple of good centuries in, but he's also missed 1 or 2. And I'm sure that he'll go away and he'll come back even stronger.
Meanwhile, Ronnie here just not looking as though he's on it. I'm not sure whether he can get to the red that's immediately in line with, well, more or less in line with the black and the blue. He's had a look at it. I don't think he can get past the pink. If he can, it's very... Well, yes, he can. There you see the angle. He can just get it, but not enough to pot it in the right corner.
And I think he's left Stephen one there to the top left, Mike. A little bit careless from Ronnie. He was hoping to get that cue ball tight on that top cushion. Half chance here, but Stephen's 51 points behind. Got to be careful. It was close. Now I think he's left Ronnie one to the same pocket. Just look at this on the replay. It looks all the way, but just slightly wide of that corner pocket. And I think Ronnie's just attempting one to the same corner, or he's thinking about it. Only problem is he'll be cannon into another red, not guaranteed position on the colour. And he's already 51 the lead. It's not him that needs to take the risks. But as ever, positive, great pot, and negotiated the cue ball perfectly on the net's red, or I should say on the net's colour, to get onto the net's red. Well,
he could live to remember that shot as possibly the shot that took him over the finishing line, because with these reds spread the way they are, there's really no reason why Ronnie can't now manoeuvre himself with the next few shots into a tournament winning lead. Already 60 points to the good.
That was a great shot as well. Played perfectly. Just a couple more reds then, and he's there.
17.
And well, he's played well in patches this week, Ronnie. We haven't really seen the best of him, in my opinion, anyway. But well, if you can win like this.
25.
Well, sadly for us and the rest of the viewers, perhaps his best was in the pre-televised stage when he beat Jimmy White 5-3 and produced those 3 lightning centuries.
32.
But at least that, I think, set him up for what was to come.
33.
Yes, I'm sure Stephen will be disappointed. He's had 1 or 2 good breaks in this final, but in the end wasn't able to stay with Ronnie.
38. 39.
And he knows he's home and dry now, and that's always a nice feeling inside.
Yes, his second tournament victory of the season, following his Champions Cup success right at the start.
44.
And let's just remind ourselves, he did in fact
45.
beat Stephen on the way to taking that title. They came up against each other at semi-final stage, and he beat Stephen 5-2 on that occasion. But in just a few moments, it's going to be Ronnie who lifts the cheque for 62,000, taking this trophy for the second time. Stephen having already won it 3 times.
54.
Yes, and I think on the day's play, a worthy winner, Mike.
Yes, he's cleaned up when Stephen has made the odd untypical error, and that's been the difference. We've seen some super breaks from Stephen to win 5 of those 6 frames that he's taken.
63.
But this, the 9th frame for Ronnie, is a nice way for him to wrap this tournament up.
68.
And I think even the partisan Scotsman people around this tournament venue will applaud this man. They are indeed doing just that, as Ronnie O'Sullivan clinches a 9 frames to 6 victory over the Scotsman Stephen Hendry to take the 2000 Regal Scottish Masters for the second time in his career. Ronnie O'Sullivan then saying cheers to the crowd, thanking them for acknowledging his efforts. A cheque for £30,000 then to the runner-up, Stephen Hendry, to add to the millions that the 31-year-old has won in his long and most successful career. So, all smiles from Ronnie as he takes the trophy and that £62,000 cheque. Ian Doyle there on the right of our picture, the tournament promoter who began this back in 1989. A successful tournament and a success for Ronnie O'Sullivan. I hope you've enjoyed it. From me and Mike Hallett, goodbye.
Damien Francis, Hartson, denied by the legs of Miller. And here's Hunt. Beyond Francis's reach this time, but that was good build-up from Wimbledon, and Hartson denied by the legs of the goalkeeper.
This is great quality, it really is. The movement and the passing and the awareness of players making runs. And actually, when you looked at John Harley on that left-hand side, I just wondered whether he might have been in better option. But John had a good first touch, where he's looking really to find the corners. Instead, he strikes it firmly at Kevin Miller's legs.
Here's Jonathan Hunt, given away to Ward. Sheeran. Van der Laan and Jones to his left. Regan has bombed on the right. And he's looking here for Carl Regan. Pushed away by Davis. He'd advanced well there, the fullback.
That's a great run, but once again, Sheeran's just picking the ball up. Oceans of space. And that was really timed to perfection. Good save from the goalkeeper. It had to be, but there's the space and room that Sheeran's get. He picks out Regan, and Regan does exceptionally well to hit the ball to the far post.
Chettle deals with Kimball's kick. And it's Corbeau who's got away from Hunt here. And Gear, who's already been booked, has clattered into Corbeau. And Sheeran breaks. And as the ball is played forward as an offside, Barnsley have an instant injury concern in Corbeau, having just seen Regan stretch it off. And the referee has a big decision to make here. Gear, who's already been booked and was lucky to stay on then, may not be so lucky this time.
It's actually come from a Wimbledon corner. As Kimball's ball's gone into the box, not really with the quality you would expect from Kimball. And it's led to a Barnsley counter-attack, in particular Corbeau. And Corbeau actually doesn't touch the ball. And I think Gear expects him almost to nick it past him. And it is an untimely tackle. It's perhaps a crude tackle that Corbeau thankfully is back up on his feet. But I do believe the Wimbledon defender is the player that has come worse off in that incident. And well, the referee has had time now to reflect on the incident, time to think about his decision.
Well, he's inviting him to leave the field, but only to get treatment, not to leave the field permanently. Corbeau. Lee Jones. He's got past Anderson.
That's great defending that time from Rob Gear. He's had a difficult afternoon so far.
Back in from Ward towards Van der Laan. Little touch from Kimball. Sheeran! Great blast from him and a wonderful reaction save.
Well, it's a great strike, and he's always looking to get in behind Robbie Van der Laan. Van der Laan, very much the focus there. And you've got to think, it's a difficult angle for Sheeran to score from. And players, well, they were in plenty of supply in the box. They're looking for Sheeran just to cut this ball back. It's a great save from Davis.
Jones here looks to stretch the Wimbledon defence. Barker's cross. Van der Laan brought in under control. It's Madison! And he was so close to a debut goal there.
Well, Wimbledon very nearly paid the price, Rob, for the injury to Trond Anderson, because that ball found itself to the left-hand side. And as this comes back out to Neil Madison, he does possess quality, certainly in those areas. Well, and that has just clipped the far post, and that's so unfortunate. What a way to start your potential Barnsley career with a goal, and he was so close, Neil Madison.
Ward who curls it in. Corbeau driven across, and Maddison again denied by the frame of the goal.
Well, it just came too quickly to him, Rob, and that ball across the face of the goal from Corbeau. Neil Maddison really just scratching his head, wondering how he hasn't got on the end of this. Really, Wimbledon 6s and 7s, not really sure who should be marking who, and Maddison just almost ghosted it at the far post.
Williams. And Hartson is onside. And Miller stands tall against him, but he's got support in the box. Francis! And from 6 yards out, he somehow manages to lift it over.
Well, this is an unbelievable miss from Damien Francis, but I really was just praising the two centre-halves, Morgan and Chettle, how excellent they've been all afternoon, but they certainly were found wanting here. As this ball goes in behind, there is a serious suspicion of offside, although in the left-back position, almost playing Hartson onside, and really they go to ground. Some really poor defending there, and it was initially from Moses as he came across, but that is so easy really by John Hartson, and Damien Francis ought to have had that buried.
Moses. It's Ward's ball, and it's Jones who's onto it. Van der Laan, blocked by Williams. Corbeau, off the line by Williams. Corbeau again, good save by Davis. Wimbledon may have protests to make about that because Jones appeared to control it with his arm in the build-up.
Well, what a passage of play that was, and Blackwell just can't make a challenge on Jones. What a wonderful block, initially from Williams, then again from Williams. He's the saviour on 2 occasions, and finally they managed to get the ball clear.
Roberts away. Francis has linked up well with Gale. Hartson's in space. Can he run it all the way through? Good tackle by Moses. Had to get